When Daniel Morgan left the north of England, his only goal was to take a few photographs and spend a few quiet days surrounded by nature. He had heard stories about Germany's Black Forest Schwarzwald, and it seemed to promise both peace and visual splendor. He had been a nature photographer for years, but the mysterious allure of old European forests was something else entirely. He set off in a rented camper van. His route passed through a small Bavarian village, then into a winding forest road deep in the Schwarzwald. When the GPS suggested a shortcut, he didn't think twice. The road looked narrower, more remote, but that wasn't a problem for Daniel. He found solitude and nature comforting. As the road narrowed, darkness and mist thickened. Though it was still afternoon, the dense branches overhead blocked out the sky almost entirely. The headlights could barely cut through the fog ahead. Occasionally, Daniel saw shapes flitting between the tree shadows moving, just out of focus, but it wasn't unusual to see wildlife in a forest. Deer, foxes, perhaps even a lynx, he reassured himself. After a while, the GPS lost signal. The radio emitted nothing but static, then went completely silent. Daniel stopped and looked around. He was deep in the forest, in a desolate spot. There were no signs, no lights. He turned off the engine and stepped outside. The silence was absolute, so complete it pressed on his ears. Not even the rustling of leaves. He took a deep breath. From his bag, he pulled out his camera and took a few shots. The fog drifting through the trees gave the scene an eerie, ghostly feel. It was exactly the kind of atmosphere he liked to capture. But then he noticed something strange. In every photo, there was a vague silhouette in the background, like someone watching from a distance, translucent and still. He thought it might be a smudge on the lens or a trick of light. He cleaned the camera and took another shot. The figure was still there. This time it was closer. Not detailed enough to see a face, but definitely human shape standing tall among the trees, motionless. A chill ran down his spine. He was about to return to the camper when a metallic clanging echoed through the woods, like chains being dragged or an old iron door creaking open. He shouldn't have followed the sound, but curiosity gnawed at him. He took his flashlight and walked toward the noise. He moved carefully, each step crunching softly on the forest floor. The woods were unnaturally quiet. No bird song, no insect buzz. Nature itself seemed to be holding its breath. That was never a good sign. Soon, he came upon a crumbling stone structure, a small, long-abandoned shack covered in moss. Its door hung slightly open, and something pale, perhaps cloth, drifted in the breeze from inside. Daniel didn't go in. He only stepped close enough to look through the doorway. Inside was nothing but a broken table, a toppled chair, and a dust-covered mirror with a cracked frame. But as he turned to leave, the mirror trembled. Fingerprints began to appear on the glass as if something inside was pressing against it. Daniel froze. He stepped back slowly, then heard breathing directly behind him. He couldn't bring himself to turn around. A cold hand brushed the back of his neck. He spun, heart racing, but no one was there. He ran back to the camper, breath ragged, skin clammy. He turned the key in the ignition. Nothing. He tried again. Still nothing. The headlights flickered briefly, then died. Now the only light came from the pale moon and the fog slipping between the trees. He decided to wait inside the vehicle. He locked the doors. The only thing he had was a flashlight. Every few minutes he thought he heard tapping on the glass, but whenever he turned to look, nothing was there. Around midnight, a hand touched the window, clearly visible white, long-fingered, and disturbingly thin. The hand slid slowly down the glass. Daniel screamed and backed away. The hand vanished. Then the door handle moved, pressed down slowly, but the door held firm. For the next hour, that thing paced outside. He could hear its footsteps crunching even above his vehicle. Then, all at once, it stopped. Silence returned. He didn't sleep. At first light, the engine finally roared to life. Without questioning it, he checked the GPS. Oddly, it showed him off route in a blank, unmarked zone of the forest. No road, no trail, just a void on the map. It took him hours to find his way back to civilization. He never saw the shack again. There were no paths, no signs he had ever been there. It was as if that part of the forest had never existed. All he had left were a few blurred images on his camera's memory card, and the horror of that night. In each photo, the figure came a little closer. In the final image, the face was visible, eyeless, lipless, decayed. Daniel never traveled through forest roads again.